Hello, welcome to 3 and Out, brought to you by Disruption Network and MyGarageBar.com. Things look a little different,
a little bit.
Obviously. No Rich Masucci, our marvelous host, so I am filling in for the week. Hopefully I do justice, but we're going to all make it through here. I really do believe we're all going to make it through here. Before I do my introductions, I just have to mention the guys from the D-line were just in here, and we had this competition that we all agreed to where we were going to pick teams that were playing on the night games, and everyone had an amount of points. Well, they thought things were a little bit different, even though they're the ones that made the rules. So I just want to point out, after 2 weeks,
There you go.
D-line has 5 points. And us at 3 and Out have 10.
There we
So
go.
we're doing pretty good over
Doing all
here.
right.
We got this.
We are. So what I want to do is I want to introduce that panel. Thanks, Todd. I want to introduce the panel of non-experts, we like to call ourselves.
Thank you.
Even though I'm not joining you guys in the middle over there. First up, Jamie Ostinet. How are you tonight?
Doing very good. How
Are
about
ya?
yourself, Moss?
I'm hanging in here. I'm hanging in over here. Still working like crazy?
Of course, just left the college 10 minutes ago, and here I am again. So
Yeah. We had
never a dull moment.
We got to watch most of I would say the first half of the 1 o'clock games, just you and I in the garage bar.
That
so
was actually
kinda fun.
nice. Yeah, it was nice. We actually got to
really
watch
nice.
everything we wanted to watch and not have to
Exactly.
worry about, slaving drinks or anything. We just sat there and talked football for
That's right. And we were
couple
like,
hours.
what should we talk about this week? So
Yeah.
it was nice
It
to
was
have
very
that.
good.
Over on the other side, we got Mr. Ray Nation. How's it going, Ray?
Not bad. I mean, it could have been a better week, but
Yeah.
we all know how that goes.
We know. But, you still got it with your picks.
My picks I've been doing all right with the picks. I wish I would have actually bet my picks this week. I actually didn't make any bets this
What are you
weekend.
doing? You're not betting them?
No, this weekend I didn't. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually took the week off. I was a little late trying to get to the casino to make the bets, and
I know you flew out.
unfortunately, I
Flew
did
out of
not.
the garage.
I did not take my picks this week, but I'm liking this week coming up,
There you
There you
so
go.
I might just double down.
I'll have to write them down because I do have to give an apology to Nora because she says I called her out last week. But you know what, Nora? You should be thanking me again this week because I told you to take Arizona with the points. So
Yep.
thank you, Ray,
You're
my
welcome.
guy,
Yep.
for giving me that info so I could tell those guys at work. So
Yep.
I
We all got a
appreciate that.
guy.
You all have a
Everybody's
guy. And Ray, you are my guy.
I appreciate it.
All right. So let's jump right into it, I guess, right?
Yeah, why not? Let's get
All right.
going.
So we got to talk about the Buffalo Bills, right?
The Bills.
Yes.
2-0. Jamie, you've got a smile over there, but you know what? We're gonna let you gloat. It's okay.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna let
Thank you.
gloat. You deserve it. But really, your team is off to a great start, winning back-to-back games in MetLife Stadium, which
Yep.
was a little weird.
Very.
Staying in New Jersey for 2 weeks in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they actually stayed the whole week there, or do you think they actually went back to New York?
I think they actually traveled back to New York. It's only like 300
That's
miles,
true.
so it's not
That's
exactly a lengthy flight.
Very strange to have your first two
Seriously.
games in the same stadium.
Very weird.
All right, so let's talk about Josh Allen. He looked pretty impressive in that 28-14 victory over the Giants this week. 19 completions, 253 passing yards, a passing touchdown, and a rushing touchdown. He also showed a little bit more patience in the pocket than I think we saw from him last season. So my question for you guys is, did the Bills really find that quarterback that they've been looking for? Or are we drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too early on this, guys?
That's the funny thing. I'm going to throw myself under the bus on this one right off the bat because when the draft happened with Josh Allen, I was on my way to the garage bar to watch hockey with Rich. And I when that pick came through, I immediately said to Rich, "You got the wrong one. You got the wrong guy. That's not the one." I preferred Josh Rosen or Mason Rudolph of all people. Those are the two that I talked a lot about. So I was a little disappointed, unfortunately, because I fell for the trap and tricks of everything that everybody was talking about him. Accuracy issues, is he sure he's got an arm, athletic ability? Is he really there? But I'm going to eat my own words on that because, man, this dude has done everything over the year and change that he's been in Buffalo to not only improve his game, but to also win over the fan base in every way, shape, or form. You can't help but love this guy if you watch him off the field even. I mean, there's a video of him over the summer in training camp where he sees a young kid in a Dolphin jersey and has him. He's like, you know what? We got to get rid of that. Signs a jersey and hat and hands it to this kid. He's signing footballs. He's out there all the time. You can't help but love the guy. That's part one of it. On top of that, in the offseason, he worked with Jordan Palmer, who is kind of like a quarterback whisperer as far as accuracy issues, on his accuracy. So last year he finishes around 52% through 2 games. Sure, it's only 2, but he's at just shy of 65. That's a huge jump when you think about that. And a lot of his throws, if you've watched through 2 weeks, they're very impressive. And a lot of his throws, if you look through 2 weeks, are the short to intermediate game, which were the biggest knocks on him coming out of college and all of last year. So, I mean, right there, he's showing a better grasp of the offense, a better grasp of that short and intermediate game. On top of that, he's got the weapons with John Brown and Cole Beasley, and he's actually looking like a true quarterback. And whenever he's forced out, he is beasting people as a runner. I mean, first quarter, he takes a scramble and stiff arms the linebacker for about a solid 5 yards.
Yeah, that was awesome.
He absolutely beast moded him on that one. And, I mean, last year you see him hurdling linebackers. I don't want to see him do that every week or anything like that, but at the same point, he's big, he's physical, he's a lovable character. Watch the post-game interview if you want to see some of the funniest crap talked about. I am in New York. It's just all I'll say. Watch that. It's great. He's a lovable guy, and he's putting all the effort in and all the work in to become that guy. I've turned from a doubter into a believer. At least at this point, we're enthusiastic about it. I'll leave it at that.
I have Dave Bandage chiming in and saying he was hoping that he would go to Cleveland in the draft, but he's glad about Baker Mayfield, though.
Yes. Can't be upset
out
about
pretty
that.
well.
He's doing good.
What about you, Ray? What do you think about Josh
I'm going to be honest. I'm not really sold yet. I mean, don't get me wrong.
He's 2-0.
Yeah, because listen, he's 2-0, but it was against the Jets and the Giants. So we need to, let's relax a little bit. Neither of those teams are going anywhere.
No.
So, I mean, one has a quarterback who obviously we all know just got benched, and the other has a quarterback who has mono. So, I liked what he's done. He's done some good things. He really has. But it's 2-0. They're still in the Patriots division. So I'm not completely sold. Let's talk about that like week 8 or 9 when we have a real good picture of what the potential is for the playoffs. But I like so far what they're doing, and I really believe that it's their opportunity to definitely get the wild card. There were definitely some disappointing teams that made the playoffs last year that did not perform as well as I'd like so far this year. So we'll see. It's still open.
It's going to be interesting. He just looks like a leader out there, though.
He does.
You don't expect that from a sophomore player at all.
Exactly.
Well, remember who their last couple of quarterbacks were. I mean, the bar is set pretty low. Come on.
Like, not like
you know it. Like the bar. I mean, come on.
I'm aware. I could walk into that
Nathan
room
5-pick Peterman.
Yeah,
let's not forget about that guy.
We don't go into that.
For the Bills to actually have something.
But no, I'm happy. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's we were talking in the garage bar, and I was like, wow, like, his team's 2-0, our teams are 0-2.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not.
How often do we get to say that?
Like never.
So yeah, I'm happy, man.
Let's let him have his moment.
Oh sure. Look, and I'm not against realism here. Let's be brutally honest. Like I realize who they played. The only thing I can say about who they did play is at least the Jets' defense is pretty good. It's an above average defense, so at least that was there. The Giants not so much. That's a practice run really. So I understand that too, but this is, at least my thought is this what makes you one of the at least average or passable quarterbacks. You got to beat who you should beat, and you make it a game with the ones that you can't.
A win is a win.
Exactly. Yeah. But you have to beat the teams you should beat. That's really it.
Very true. So I know we talked about LaShawn McCoy a couple weeks ago, leaving Buffalo and going to the Chiefs. Now that you've had these 2 weeks to look at it, do you think that Buffalo made the right choice by sticking with Frank Gore?
Yes, but for different reason. So, Frank Gore has actually played pretty well. The numbers don't jump off the page or anything like that. In this past week, he had a solid day: 19 carries, 68 yards, and he got his first touchdown as a Bill. If memory serves, I think he's too shy of 80 for his career. By the way, I'm not 100% if that's accurate, but I'm pretty close on that. I know that. Anyway, so the nice part about Gore is he is a very much a old school north-south runner. He's going to go right between the tackles, right up your nose, right up your gut, and try to barrel you over. And for that, he does a pretty good job. He's going to get you maybe 5 to 7 yards on a good solid carry and move the chains a little bit. That's what you want. Mm-hmm. But as far as letting go of McCoy, the bigger reason is Devin Singletary. And Singletary plays a lot like McCoy in the fact that he's better out of the tackle boxes. And what I mean, more or less, you stretch him out to the outside, you pull a guard or a tackle. Devin Singletary is lights out. I mean, he's got a motor on him. He's elusive. He breaks tackles all over the place. I mean, I think the guy's got something like 10 carries for about 4,000 yards already in 2 games. It's insane. And actually, in all honesty, I think it's 15 touches. So between his catches and runs, he's got 155 yards. That's great. But that's also used wisely as well. I know a lot of the fans are calling for him to get a huge increase in his touches because he's only getting 6 to 10. Like, no, they're setting it up perfectly. You know, you're going north-south with that. They're getting Singletary on the field and not utilizing him, and then just really picking and choosing his spots wisely. That's why he's averaging 9.5 yards a carry, because you're using him correctly. You try to give him 20 touches, I'm sure, because I love this guy. I think he's incredible.
I was gonna say, he's your new favorite player with the Bills,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I said it before the game even started last week in the Jets. I was talking to our friend Mick, another Bills fan. I said, I love Devin Singletary, and you'll see why today. And from that point, I think I got Mick. I think I got Mick on board on this one. But as far as Singletary, he can take a 20 carry load, but why do that? Why force it if you don't have to? Frank Gore is a perfect person to teach him the ropes of the NFL, definite Hall of Famer, and now he can learn from that. It's a shame, it does hurt that McCoy's gone, but at the same point, why have two of the same people in the same room at that point?
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, he covered everything right there, honestly.
I know.
LaShawn McCoy, I think, honestly,
right.
I think LaShawn McCoy just kind of needed a change of scenery.
Yeah.
It was kind of good for him to go to another team, and he was fortunate. He landed on a very playoff-capable team in Kansas City, and I think he's going to do good things there, barring injury, because he is, an older back. But, yeah, as far as the Bills, he said it, Devin Singletary is the real deal, and that's exactly why LaShawn McCoy needed to go, because they knew what they had coming.
Yeah.
And I agree, so far they've been, keeping his catches and his touches low. I think they do need to kind of open that up a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he should get somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. I think he could handle it. And yeah, I mean, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So whatever they're doing, it's working. So just keep it going until time for change.
Yeah, it's one of the few times in my life as a Bills fan, at least since the 90s when I really became into football, that I could actually say that through both games, they've run for over 100 and 150 yards this past week, and they're also throwing for over 250. I mean, it's a 400-yard offense. I don't get to say that often, so I'm not gonna knock anything that the coaches are doing as far as play calling for exactly that reason. What you're doing is working perfectly. So
keep it up. Keep it up. All right, so I guess we now have to talk about the defense. They started off a little shaky in the start of the game, but they were able to hold arguably one of the best running backs, Saquon Barkley, to 107 total rushing yards, which 55 of those yards came in that opening possession. So that's pretty impressive to me. It really is. So what do we expect out of them this week against the Bengals? I mean, are they going to give Andy Dalton and the Bengals a beat down? Because, I mean, they're going into Buffalo now. Now they have home field advantage. So what do you think is going to happen with these guys?
I think they are going to destroy the Bengals, to be honest. I think the Bengals,
like that.
Listen, the Bengals, week one, I mean, I watched that game versus Seattle, and I was like, all right, the Bengals, they looked okay. I mean, they lost the game by 1. It's unfortunate, but they looked okay. Then they come this week, play the Niners, and I don't know what the hell they were doing out there. It was so embarrassing. I mean, their only, I guess, bright spot was John Ross caught a nice deep ball, and he had some yards of the touchdown, but I don't know what. I feel bad for Andy Dalton. I mean, the guy, he's been not really consistent like as an elite level, but he's been good enough to get wins, and they finally thought they had things going, and then A.J. Green just can't stay healthy. So they're going to get trounced. I think that the Bills should come out firing, and hopefully Jamie's team gets to 3-0.
Yeah. Trust me, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that for different reasons as well, or very similar ones. I'm trying not to stay homer here, but if you just look at everything that's setting up right now for Buffalo, you can't help but say that they're favored to win this game because it's their home opener, for Christ's sakes. That's already problem number one. And anybody who's been in Buffalo for a game, it's just loud, it's wild, it's nuts. That's not an easy place to play. The other part of it is that the strength of the Bills' defense currently is their pass defense. They're very, very good at that. Even though the sack numbers aren't quite there, they get back there quick, and they're forcing quick throws. And literally right now, the Bengals' only options are Tyler Boyd, who's actually having a great season. He's fine, and John Ross. But now you're going to have to go after Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, and Jordan Poyer, and Levi Wallace. That's not an easy task, and there's not enough of a run game there that you can throw it off balance. So I'm with Ray that I think they're going to get absolutely punched in the mouth on this. It could get ugly very, very fast. I mean, the past 2 weeks, look at it. Le'Veon Bell bottled up, absolutely bottled up against the Jets.
It was nice to see.
Oh, I know you were. I know you guys were very happy with that. And then this past week, you're right. The opening drive, Barkley came out, and Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. He's at least arguably the best running back in football. But then 14 carries for 52 yards following that, they really closed the gap.
Yeah,
they really did.
Figured out what was going to work.
Yeah, forced Eli Manning to try to get them out of that. It didn't work. They were forcing quick throws out of him as well. And I mean, essentially, they just ended his Giants career without taking him out of the game. He wasn't hurt in any way, but now it's Daniel Jones' time to start as of this morning. So
yeah, we heard that.
Yeah. So I'm with Ray. I don't see this being a game. It might start off a little slow, a little bit of that home adrenaline, but I think by the second quarter, Buffalo's going to start putting on these drives, and
it'd be crazy.
Yeah, they've been doing damn good at that all year. So far, I saw this stat earlier actually. Buffalo's 6 touchdown drives of their 7 scoring drives, their shortest was 70 yards. So they have drives of a couple of 75, 74, and one that was 98 yards this past week against the Giants on 7 plays. That's nuts in its own right. And, you hang your hat on something like that. They're playing great, and as long as they can stay grounded, they're going to be in great shape this week, too.
Jamie, don't feel bad. You should homer it. I mean, it's okay. We would do the same thing. So
I'm a voice on the radio right now. I have to try to tone it down a little bit.
This is your time to let it all out. So Ray and I will be all right with it. All right.
All right. Thank you for that.
You're
just hope the people out in the radio world cut me some slack too.
All right, so I guess we kind of made it through. We didn't have a whole lot of time here on the first down, but we made it through, right? But this is kind of weird. I'm actually going to introduce my own segment, so that's awesome. That's a little odd. But you know what? When it comes to Moss's Mindbender, I really do. I want to know if you guys are liking what you're hearing, if there's something different that we should do. Please chime in. Let us know your answers. And obviously, Dave Bandage is going to get it right every week. I'll never be able to stump him, but keep telling us your answer. And it'd be great. So that was it for the first down. And here, without further ado, we have Moss's Mindbender.
All right, here we go with this week's Moss's Mindbender trivia question. This Thursday night's game is between the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So to go along with that, my question is, what Jacksonville Jaguars player holds the record for the most passing yards in one season with 4,428 yards? Again, what Jacksonville Jaguars player holds the record for the most passing yards in one season with 4,428 yards? We're going to find out that answer right after the break. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second down of 3 and Out, brought to you by Disruption Network and MyGarageBar.com. So before the break, I hit you with my Moss's Mindbender. That question was, what Jacksonville Jaguars player holds the record for the most passing yards in one season? The answer is 2 words for you, Blake Bortles. Yep, that's right. Bortles passed for a total of 4,428 yards during the 2015 season. Coming in right behind him at number 2 was Mark Brunell. And who's that at number 3? Oh yeah, Blake Bortles again. There you have it, folks, this week's Moss's Mindbender.
my God.
Wow.
Yep, that's right. 2 words for you,
Blake
buddy.
Bortles.
The worst part about this to everybody listening out there is myself and Ray sat here and we went through the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars of every quarterback we could, and we thought we were nailing this. Even more so, apparently Todd and Moss were talking about it while I was sitting here, and it gave the answer, and I still didn't come up with Blake Bortles of all people.
Yeah, I was like, maybe Leftwich.
That is
Leftwich.
why
Yeah, I was thinking, Mark, it's got to be Brunell, but maybe we're going back and
I
forth.
was like,
and
oh my God, tell me it's not Blake
it
Bortles.
is. Why do you think I would ask the question? Of
it's
course
so-
it's Blake Bortles.
Seriously.
But you know what's funny about Blake Bortles, I have to say, is that even though he went to the Rams as a backup, the way things are going nowadays, he might end up playing.
Yeah, at this point, seriously.
Knock on wood, we don't want anybody else to get hurt, but yes. So Blake Bortles, you now hold the record for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So congratulations. Those 2 words remain. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, nobody gave the answer here, I thought. Oh yeah, Dave Bandish.
Bandish,
thought
yeah.
it was Brunell though.
Oh, okay. All right. So he
No,
didn't
he
get
didn't
this
get
one.
it. Nobody
So
got
he was
it.
stumped? Look at
Wow.
that.
Blake Bortles stumped you, Dave. Who knew?
He stumped us all.
You fooled us all.
Stumped himself.
Damn you,
Like,
Blake.
He
Yeah.
probably
Damn you,
he
Blake
probably would have answered that
Bortles.
question.
Yeah,
wrong.
he probably said.
He probably
it had
would've
to be-
said,
it had to be
Mark Brunell for
Yeah, it had
sure.
to be Brunell.
Definitely.
All right, so we got to go to our second topic here for the second down. So sorry, Ray, but we're going to have to talk about your Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I guess we.
You know,
should.
don't lose hope. I'm telling you, don't lose hope. 'Cause, I feel your pain. Trust me, I do feel your pain. We'll talk about that later, but seriously, that game on Sunday was a hell of a game against Chicago. I couldn't even believe it. You laughed because you had to go place a bet.
Yeah, which. Yeah.
We had another Denver Broncos fan in the garage bar, and we were going insane. We were going crazy, jumping up and down,
Oh, yeah,
all kinds of stuff. So you should have stayed.
There was
It's been interesting.
There was a couple of very bad calls in that game that just
Yes.
that hurt.
Yep.
And then to watch that field goal, oh my God, it's just brutal.
It is brutal.
That's the worst way to lose a game. And it's like when he set up for the kick, I was like, he might not have the leg for it. But then I'm like, we're in Denver. Like everybody has the leg for it in Denver. Like if you can't hit 50 in Denver, you're not hitting 50 anywhere. Like that's just the way it is. So
Oh, wow.
good for him.
Well, let's start off by talking about Joe Flacco. I mean, obviously he was traded to the Broncos from the Baltimore Ravens this offseason. So John Elway must have seen something out of this guy. Tell me, guys, what positives did you see and what negatives did you see out of him this week?
Honestly, before I even go to Joe Flacco, let's just get it out there. I feel like quarterbacks are terrible GMs. They should not be GMs. It just doesn't work out the way that you would think because they just don't have it. So Peyton, if you're out there and you by chance are listening, please don't go to a front office and become a GM. Just do your commercials, enjoy your retirement.
No, just by Papa John.
But now, Joe Flacco, this guy, I mean, I guess positive. He showed that he has patience in the pocket. He's definitely not a mobile guy. He's not going to run. He tries to minimize mistakes. Occasionally, he's still going to have them. Every quarterback does. I mean, I'm struggling to give positives to this guy because I think he's terrible. I was joking with somebody, and I said, Joe Flacco is the equivalent of taking a laxative and believing you can't shit yourself.
oh, my God.
Like, and I'm dead serious. Like, that's how
my
I feel.
God.
That's how I feel. And I know, like, some people probably are like, he did win a Super Bowl. I get that, but his time's over. It's time for us. You know what? I think the trend is with the older quarterbacks getting hurt. Let's just bring in the rookies. Let's just get Drew Lock out there. Let's see what he's got. We got another tough game coming up. We got to play Green Bay this week, so we're looking at 0-3, and we still have to play Kansas City twice. So that's another 2 losses. I mean, I'm not optimistic at all about anything. So no, forget Joe Flacco. I'm done.
Jamie,
with him.
you must be
a
positive.
positive
a little bit.
about Joe Flacco. No, I didn't like him in Baltimore. I thought he was overrated there. I hated the entire signing trade or whatever you want to call it to Denver. I thought there's so many better options for the veteran stopgap quarterback that they should have or could have went after. I wish I could say something good about that, but I can't, at least not about him. He kept the score low. That was a problem. That was one of the biggest problems with Denver's offense was the guy who was throwing the damn ball. The Bears weren't doing anything, really, so they had shots. He just couldn't get out of his own way. And, I'm with Ray. the one thing, actually, shortly after the draft, I did speak with Ray about it, and I kind of did talk to him. I was like, I like Drew Lock. I thought he was one of the better quarterbacks to come out this year. You might have gotten the best one. Well, I mean, obviously, time will tell. How he's molded and how he's developed will also tell. But I'm with him. It's really is like Flacco's not the future. We already know that. Go with Drew Lock, really, and see what he's got. I mean, how long? Do you know how much longer he's actually injured for? I know he was early in the season, but
I think he's out at least another 2 or 3 weeks.
it's just a couple more weeks.
Yeah, he
but,
should be all right.
But even by that point, you could be 1-3 or at worst 0-4.
At best, we'll be 1-4.
Yeah.
At best. So
Wow, you're
see.
really knocking it down there.
Is what it
Listen,
is.
though, I'm going to try to be positive, and I did see him start to click with Sanders and Sutton a little bit in that game, especially towards the end in the fourth quarter. So I saw a little glimpse of hope, so to speak.
I guess
Listen,
Yeah, good.
gotta stay positive. right?
somebody has to be optimistic.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying.
I will say for your sake, so we're not just pounding on the Denver Broncos right now. Cortland Sutton does look like he's taking a step in the right direction. He looks like a legit receiver right now. Emmanuel Sanders, he's always had ability. His problem is injury. So if he could stay on the field, that's a great 1-2 combination.
He looked like what he did
yeah.
before he got injured, though. for sure.
Absolutely, he did, and actually another rookie that they got, that Noah Fant, I like in the receiving game as well. That they could turn themselves into somebody if they can actually get the quarterback play up to par.
All right, so let's get away from Flacco for a hot second, and let's talk about the running back duo of Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. They seem to be splitting carries pretty equally over the last 2 weeks. So do you think this is effective, or do you think that the Broncos need to be giving one of them more workload?
I think that Phillip Lindsay should get more touches. He's more explosive, and he's shown that he can handle it. Royce Freeman, ever since he left college, has been nothing but a disappointment. And he has not been trustworthy with the ball. I remember one game last year, his very first time he touched the damn ball, he fumbled it. And I was like, oh, all right, I've seen this before in the Super Bowl, and I didn't like it. So I honestly think Phillip Lindsay should get more touches. But so at the same time, considering that we are not a playoff-bound team, I understand splitting the carries, try to
2
keep
weeks,
them.
you're already saying that.
Listen, you know these things. Like sometimes you just know. And the sooner you accept it, the less stressed you'll be for the next 16 weeks. So I'm okay with it. We're not going to make the playoffs this year. It's okay. No big deal. It's a rebuild. And we'll keep going. We'll keep trucking.
Thank you.
That's it.
I know, Jamie, you love Phillip Lindsay.
Absolutely. This was like really the first time that I sat there and truly watched him. I've seen some highlights in the past, Damn, that man can move. I mean, he is explosive as hell. He might be among the top tier as far as just flat out elusiveness, quickness through the line. He might be the best in the NFL. And I'm not trying to take anything away from any of the better or the better named running backs. You can say like a Barkley or something. But he was sent out of a cannon through those holes this past week. It really looked like somebody was just firing him out of there. The nice part that I could say, at least to be a little bit more positive on that, what we're talking about, both with the Bills, with Frank Gore and Devin Singletary, you're seeing a little bit of that with Denver right now with Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay. Lindsay's more of the elusive back that's good outside the tackles. Freeman, I thought, was most effective when he was north and south between the tackles. A little bit more of a bruiser. He was able to keep two hands on the ball and maintain it, but it's also a nice change of pace. I'm also with Ray on that one, that Lindsay should get the lion's share of the carries because he's just more of a home run hitter. But it's a nice 1-2 combo that they have in Denver. That's something that they can lean on going forward also if they don't want to turn this into a dumpster fire. Get away a little bit from the passing game.
Yeah.
Really focus
agree.
on working on that running game. And additionally, their line is young. The two guys that I really liked, which this past week does no justice to Garrett Bowles. Garrett Bowles, I think, is a great player. He got abused by Khalil Mack, though, but that's nothing against
Anybody
him.
is going to
exactly.
be, yeah.
He got made to look like a chump this past week, and he's not. I like him a lot.
And how many penalties did he have?
Oh man,
It was insane.
he gave up like 4 sacks. He was false. I mean, he's trying everything under the sun. And
It's going up against Mac. What do you expect?
exactly. And the other guy on the left side is Dalton Risner, which is a guy that I actually really wanted Buffalo to draft this past year, and he of course went to Denver instead. I like that left side. That's a good way to start, at least right there. letting them kind of play, and they're doing a great job, at least in the run game. Pass protection is going to take a little bit longer, but at least they can do something there and get those two off the ground a little better.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, Broncos are starting out the season 0-2. First time since 1999. I think Jamie and we talked about this. That's like the last team to ever do that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That was there was something that popped up right before I got to the bar the other day that since 1999 there was one team that has not started 0-2, and it was Denver. It was Denver. Yep. It was Denver. They were the last ones to go down now.
So I was going to ask you if you guys had any hope for this, but obviously we've already answered that through these questions. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that defense. I mean, they have some older guys with Von Miller, and do you think that there's any promise with them?
Well, ideally, you would think having Von Miller on one side and Bradley Chubb on the other, that, I mean, you could pick your poison, right? But it seems that Bradley Chubb, they're not getting the stats that show on a stat sheet. Like, they're not getting the sacks, but they are disrupting the quarterbacks. They're forcing them to throw the ball early, and that's good. They're getting deflections, but they're not getting those sacks like you would expect. But that's the one positive. The defense is okay. So they won't have teams scoring like 30, 40 points on them. But our offense just doesn't do enough to put us over the edge. So, yeah, whatever. I'm so disappointed.
So do I? I'm sorry.
He's hurting over there.
He's hurting.
It's all right.
Do I even ask what we think's going to happen this week?
I mean, I can tell you flat out this is what's going to happen. Our next 5 games, we have to play the Packers, the Jaguars, the Chargers,
You can beat the Jaguars.
Titans,
You could beat the Chargers.
and Chiefs. So out of those 5, I see maybe 2 wins, possibly we'll get 3 losses for sure. Green Bay, Chiefs, and I'd say Chargers, probably losses. Jaguars and Titans, maybe we can win 1.
Yeah.
Maybe. But
It is any given Sunday or Monday, so.
if we end up 0-7, I don't know. I don't even know.
We may never see Ray again on the show.
Might have to do the brown paper bag.
I don't see it to that level. So Jacksonville is turning into a fire right now.
No doubt.
Jalen Ramsey coming out saying he got to get out of there now. It's over with. They're done there. Nothing against Minshew mania that's going on right now. Or Foo
Gardner Minshew the second. How come I hear second and then some people say the third?
I don't know. Maybe it's just something we don't know. He's cloning himself. I don't know, but it's still Minshew. But they're not a great team. Tennessee, I'm not a fan of either. I don't think they have enough offensive firepower. They have a good defense though, but very up and down.
Yep.
And even the Chargers, who I thought were gonna be a lot better of a team. They usually are. They have laid 2 goose eggs against teams that they should have beaten pretty well. I mean, the Colts I expected to be better than a lot of people thought, but not good enough to keep it a game against the Chargers. And then they just lost to the Lions, which nobody picked to be a good team. And that's rough. That's a rough go. So I personally think that the Broncos can win 3 of those games. They will very likely lose the other 2. But it also comes down to readjusting your offensive strategy, and defensively, there's 0 worries. They're going to keep the score under 20 most of the time. The ones that scare you are Green Bay can get over that, and so can Kansas City. Those are the ones that will scare you a little bit.
Scary.
Well, I figured because the Packers is on the road, so we're playing at Green Bay. We're not going to win in that.
That's a tough one.
And we have to go at San Diego. So that's why I thought, all right, San Diego might win that.
All right, gotcha.
But we play the Chiefs at home. I'm
Correct.
definitely
Los
expecting.
Angeles.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Los Angeles, yes. The Chiefs are at home, but it's the Chiefs, so I'm not going to ever expect to beat the Chiefs. And then Jacksonville and Titans we get at home. So,
yeah.
So
we'll see.
Is it safe to say if they get 7 or 8 wins this year, that would be a pretty...
I think I initially said 7 and 9 when I
Okay.
looked at the schedule.
You'd be happy with that. You feel all right.
If I could amend it now, knowing what I know, I would say probably 5 and 11.
Okay.
Okay.
But and I'm assuming that end of the season we're going to play the Chiefs and they'll already have the playoff picture wrapped up and they just start sitting their players, so we might get that win.
Right.
That's what I'm assuming. But yeah, it's not a good year for us. But you know what?
It's all right.
This happens. These things happen.
It happens.
Got to build back up, right?
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
So
It'll be all right. All right.
will be.
So that's it for our second down topic. But before we go to break, I do want to jump to Jamie's segment, which eventually we will have all nice and pretty.
Production value,
yeah, we'll
too.
have some production value. So if you're going to talk about what I think you're going to talk about, I'm really, really going to be excited to hear about it. So without further ado, Jamie's IR.
Here we go. This week's IR. And this might actually hit exactly what you think I was going to talk about. And that is Sam Darnold in the New York Jets and mononucleosis, because this is just bizarre. You don't hear a football player, or an athlete for that matter, ending up with mono. Little background on this. There's not a lot to say because, of course, it's a non-contact injury this guy got to a point. Mono is caused, usually, and unfortunately called the kissing disease because it is passed through saliva. But this can actually be done if you share food with somebody, you get coughed on, sneezed on, share a glass, and went to a restaurant, didn't realize it wasn't washed, and bam, now you have it. The virus that actually causes it is the Epstein-Barr virus, which is one of the more common forms of the herpes simplex virus. It's one of the 8 forms of it type of thing. But it's also one that if you've had it before in the past, then generally speaking, you won't get it later in life. You're usually immunized to that. And most adults are already immunized to the Epstein-Barr virus as it is. But it does happen that college-age kids or young adults, in this case Sam Darnold, are a little bit more susceptible to it, especially when they are being a little bit more worn out. You get a little bit tired. The virus goes into overdrive, and there you have it. And this is what happened to Sam Darnold. Now, as far as the symptoms go, it masks very similar to like a fever, very feverish, swollen tonsils, sore throat. Pretty much you just feel like you can't move. It's an overwhelming, exhaustive, fatigued feeling that you have. Now, this could be pretty much just cured. Rest, painkillers, anti-inflammatories, things like that. But it does take about 4 to 6 weeks roughly for you to lose that exhausted feeling. So even though the most recent report for Sam Darnold said that he's feeling better, he still may be a few weeks from being back to normal, if that makes any sense. So with that being said, I am Jamie. This was this week's IR. And get better, Sam.
Wow, that was awesome. That was what I thought
Nice.
you were going to say. All right, well, very good. Well, we will be right back after this.
Who the hell are you? You know. You all know exactly who I am.
Talking about house money right now. Well, we gonna come to you and we gonna bring it to you like this.
Say my name.
All right, so last week, if you tuned in, I gave you guys a bonus pick in Arizona covering versus the Ravens. I'm glad I did because I actually went 2-2, but it brought my overall record to 3-2 so far. Hopefully I can do a little better this week, but without further ado, here's this week's house money. So I liked how Atlanta looked last week versus Philadelphia. They gutted out the win, and Julio Jones had 2 nice touchdowns, went back to form, showing he's worth every penny of that $22 million annual. I like Atlanta +2 over the Indianapolis Colts. The defending NFC champs, the LA Rams, have a nice matchup versus the Cleveland Browns. I think that there right now it was -2.5, which I thought was very low, and I think that they can cover 3. So I would definitely take the Rams -2.5. And I know a lot of people may think I'm crazy, but the Dallas Cowboys are looking legit. And they're playing the Miami Dolphins. Now, the line opened at -16. I know that's a lot of points. I know people are like, that's a lot. But we saw what New England did to them. We know the Dolphins are in shambles. So I really believe that the Cowboys will just destroy them and win by at least 3 touchdowns. So definitely take the Cowboys -16. And also, if you've been already riding the New England Patriots, I'd say just keep it going. They got the Jets this week. Now, I had to double check and look again, but the Patriots were -22 versus the Jets, which I think is absolutely ridiculous for not only the fact that they are division rivals, but I mean, the Jets, while they only put up 3 points last week, they're not that bad. But I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if you've been following a ride with Tom Brady, definitely go with the New England Patriots. Take them on the points.
Wow. I'm writing all this down over here. You know that?
Yeah.
Because I got to come in on Thursday.
That's insane. I've never
give
seen
my
a
list
line
here.
that big. I've never seen one for
That's
NFL.
insane.
But there was
Only
some
in
that those are like
college.
for the NFL. Those are like the two worst lines in
Oh, man.
God only knows how long. I think
like,
ever. To
New
be honest
England.
with you.
You know what it is? I'm going to be honest. I think that the lines makers were like, all right, well, week 1, they had the Patriots as favorites, and we saw what they did, right?
Yes.
So then they're like, all right, well, let's come with it second week, and they had another huge line. And then the Patriots destroyed that. So they're like, well, we got to keep raising this and
Let's
see
just
what
get
happens.
let's get stupid.
And
Yeah.
let's
It's
just
gotta
see,
fall.
because if they
No
cover
way.
it, exactly. I'm 20. That's a lot of points. You know what? 22 points. I'm gonna be honest. If it wasn't the Patriots, I would be like, no way, take those points, because these are professional athletes. They, at some point, pride has to kick in,
Exactly.
Yeah.
and they should be able to hold that down. But you know what? I'm not. The Patriots have given up. What is it? They're plus 76 so far this year.
Yeah, I think they've given up 13.
13 points on the year.
Yep.
Man, listen.
It's just not right.
Oh no!
It's not right.
Actually, excuse me, because they had the Steelers and then the Dolphins, correct?
Yeah, so they 3 against the Steelers.
Three.
You
And,
got to remind me of that.
And then they shut out the Dolphins. I apologize.
guys.
That was 3 they've given up all season.
oh no! Wait, didn't the Dolphins get 3 points?
No, it was 43-zip.
Oh, well.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So they've given up 3 points this season.
All right,
so,
enough about the Patriots. We don't talk anymore. Remember, we're never talking about them again.
Yeah.
And the receiver, we're never talking about them again.
The
There you go.
receiver.
On that note, do you know what we do have to talk about?
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Oh boy,
This is going to turn into a little bit of round 2 of IR, I think, at some point, isn't it?
It's tough.
a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm super depressed over here. I can't stop crying. My boy Ben,
Yeah.
my boy Ben Roethlisberger, out for the year. Right elbow injury. He's got to have surgery this week.
It's tough. It's tough.
I don't know how I'm going to handle this. All right. Well, let me wipe my tears away.
There you go.
And what I'm going to do is I would like to read my lover, Ben Roethlisberger's statement that he addressed his future with the franchise. I'm going to read this. You guys are all going to have to sit through this. I've been informed that I need season-ending surgery on my elbow to continue playing football at the level I expect. This is shocking and heartbreaking to me. Yeah. To miss this much of a season and feel like I am letting down so many people. I can only trust God's plan, but I am completely determined to battle through his challenge and come back stronger than ever next season. The Steelers committed 3 years to me this offseason, and I fully intend to honor my contract and reward them with championship-level play. I will do all I can to support Mason and the team this season to help win games. I love this game, my teammates, the Steelers organization, and fans, and I feel in my heart I have a lot left to give. Now, I'm crying. I'm choking up here. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, I read an article from USA Today that noted that it's been 10 years since this type of injury has happened, and that he has to have this Tommy John surgery, which I know Jamie will touch on in a little bit. But what was interesting to read was that Jake Delhomme's percentage, his completion percentage, dropped down to 57% after that surgery. And he had 37 interceptions in 33 games. Delhomme was 32 and Roethlisberger is 37. So what do we think, guys? What do we think?
Well, let's point out, though, the caliber of the quarterback,
A
right?
player, yeah.
So,
I know.
while, I wish there were, it sounds bad, I wish there were more of this injury so that way there would be more to compare it to, because Jake Delhomme is,
Maybe he just
I think
gone
Ben with a
downward
weak
spiral
elbow would probably do better than Jake Delhomme, but it is an unfortunate injury, and it's, it's tough. It puts Pittsburgh in a very, very difficult position.
Yeah.
We all know. That's a lot of money that he's getting paid to, be a cheerleader, essentially. And it sucks. It sucks because I had hopes for Pittsburgh until I realized, now the whole Triple Bs are now, none of them are there.
Yeah.
And then now this is like a completely different Pittsburgh than we were used to seeing over the last almost 10 years. So We'll see. Mason Rudolph. I mean, you guys seem confident.
I do feel confident in Mason
You know,
Rudolph.
I watched him at Oklahoma State a lot, and he was a gunslinger. He was throwing the ball everywhere. But I think that was the system that he was in. His coach and that mullet, he just had a way with just making trick plays, and he was not caring. He was throwing. It would be 3rd and 6, and you're throwing 45 yards down the field. Like that's just the way he played. So we'll see. Hopefully it translates. I mean, I would like to see him do well, but this is tough to see. Ben was good, but who knows? We don't really. There's too many questions to whether or not he can come back and sustain the way he was. But hopefully he does. I hope he bounces back.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of with you too. But this is just, I mean, unprecedented. This doesn't happen in football ever. I mean, outside of Jake Delhomme, of course.
10 years ago, though.
So, I mean, it happens to pitchers. That's where this all comes from. Tommy John was a pitcher for the Yankees, and that's who it's named after. But basically, the problem with that type of injury is, I mean, the surgery itself isn't lengthy or anything like that. It only takes about 90 minutes, if that, for the actual operation. He's probably going to go home that day.
Okay.
It's the rehab that sucks. Just to get anything going, a normal person, I mean, they'll have them doing some small movement, stretching type of thing. That's weeks and weeks and weeks of physical therapy to do that. Generally speaking, it's like 9 months before you're allowed to do any physical activity. So that's before he's even allowed to attempt to throw a ball. And that also depends on if his rehab's going well. So we could legit be talking about this, that he might, even if he does come back healthy, we'll say, we might not be seeing him on the field till like November of next year. Like we're talking anywhere from a full year or 15 months. That's the general timeline for a baseball pitcher, is usually about a year and change till they're back to, we'll say, normal. And even then, they come back, they usually throw harder, which is just weird. Nobody knows why. Maybe it's just stronger for some reason. The rehab strengthens your arm. But that's not going to help for a quarterback. I mean, yeah, you can throw hard. That's great. But, I mean, that's not going to help his accuracy or anything come back. And, again, we've already alluded to it. He's 37 years old. He'll be 38 when he comes back.
Yeah.
And, that's not a good age for a quarterback coming off of an arm surgery, and a major one at that. But, as far as, taking that away, he seemed genuine about his statement that he wants to come back, regardless of what ability or what level. Maybe Mason Rudolph, which I do like. I think he's a great player. I liked what he has. Now we have to see if he can translate it to the NFL.
Yeah.
But maybe he sets the world on fire. And when Roethlisberger comes back, Roethlisberger might just hand the reins off to him and be his backup. I mean, that's like really far-fetched, honestly, but we could have essentially seen the end of an era just because of one of the ugliest injuries you see in football that you just never see, ever. So...
yeah,
it's a harsh one.
I mean, the thing I'll say as a Steelers fan, obviously, Mason Rudolph, they drafted him for a reason. He's the future for the team, but nobody ever wanted to see Ben Roethlisberger go out like this. You wanted him to see him go out on his own. I mean, we've said the same thing about Eli Manning a couple weeks ago, and obviously that changed today. But what happens if Mason Rudolph, which I pray happens, gets in there and wins? Remember what happened to Roethlisberger, 15 years ago when he stepped in for Tommy Maddox. So you never know. He could come in, he could light things on fire. They could have, winning season. It's only 2 games, so they could have a winning season. And then Ben gets healthy next year. Then we're put in a situation. The team is put in a huge situation there.
True. But you know what? You have to think about it this way. If Mason Rudolph comes in and they're winning games and he continues that into next year, then while it would be a tough decision, it's a pretty simple one to make. Your future is here. He's been going with you guys, and you've been winning. So I'm sorry, Ben, you had your time, but you know how this goes. So I guess if you're really on the Ben Roethlisberger side of things, then you want Mason Rudolph to just be okay. But if he is extravagant and does well, I know, but if he plays well, then you have to unfortunately just accept that you probably saw the last of Ben Roethlisberger.
I personally think it's a very real possibility that we've seen the last of it based on how the Steelers have reacted as an organization. And I'm not saying they're just sending him out to pasture. That's not what I mean. But you would think that you just lost your franchise quarterback of 15 plus years at this point. Now you're going with Mason Rudolph, who I understand you have faith in. There's a reason he's your backup and the reason he won that job.
Yeah, there's a reason why they traded away Josh Dobbs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was it right there. They traded away Josh Dobbs right at the end of training camp and had faith in him. And also, they traded to get Minkah Fitzpatrick. So you traded your first round pick to get, which I personally think is a very solid defensive back. But still, it's a first round pick. If you think your season's over, that's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, they would have thought they were going to draft a quarterback next year. And obviously, that's
exactly.
not going to happen.
Yeah, if you're finding the heir apparent, you're going to want to save that. But you know what? This is a team that's still, despite the injuries right now, and despite a little bit of slow play out of like James Conner for the most part, and Dante Moncrief, Jesus, catch the ball, man. But outside of that, a little slow play there. This is still a pretty good team. It's talent wise all across the board. So. It's I've heard a lot of people saying it's over, it's done, it's terrible. They're tanking, and now they made a trade. It makes no sense. I get that it doesn't make sense, and I do think that they gave up a ton to get Minkah Fitzpatrick. This is a dude under control for 4 years. I personally don't have a lot of issue with that.
No, I was pretty happy to.
It's a good, solid defensive back that can play multiple positions. He's a safety, he's a corner, he can do it all. He's like a hybrid player. So they obviously believe that this season's not over. And the future seasons aren't over. Yeah. So they see something going on that this team, regardless of what all the other people want to talk about them, that they're not done. They're not folding it in, and they're not giving up.
I'm not folding it either.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say Zach Bonanza's checking in, and he's talking about how him and Washington played together, and that's
at Oklahoma State. Yeah,
that's going to be huge. That is going to be huge. He said, "I think the connection will be electrifying." Absolutely, I'm excited to see that. So maybe Moncrief will take a back seat over there.
He should.
Yeah,
take a back seat because he's terrible.
I think I have more catches this season than Dante Moncrief. I definitely have less drops.
I do.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
all
insane.
have less drops. All of us together have less drops.
But speaking of Moncrief right there, I mean, the poor kid in Mason Rudolph, his first pass, which we were watching this, Moss, this thing was right on the damn button, and it bounces off his hand straight up, and it's picked. It's picked. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that throw. And our friend Rock and Roll, Rich Bay there, who was also a Steeler fan, was sitting next to us, and in the most somber, quiet voice I've ever heard this guy speak in.
He never speaks quiet.
Yeah, he just kind of goes, "Yeah, that's not his fault."
Yeah,
that's all. That's on my.
He should have just let it drop instead of batting in the air.
It would have been better if it hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would have been better if it hit him in the face because at least I'd get some enjoyment out of it.
I do have to give a shout out to my friend Allison who is watching. Thank you. She chimed in, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to wipe my tears away and wish Ben all the luck with his surgery, and hopefully he gets well. And if he doesn't play football again with the Steelers, then you know what, you had a great career, and I definitely see a Hall of Fame for you in the future.
Send him off properly.
I got to be honest.
Right.
The more I think about the AFC North, it's just funny how things happen, right? Like
True.
The Ravens now seem to or appear to be a good football team.
Yes,
they appear that way so far.
Find out this week.
Right. And the Browns, there was so much optimism about them, and then now we see all of the changes and trades and injuries that have happened to the Steelers, which have been pretty dominant over the last decade. So it's just weird how those things all fall into place, which is why I was so adamant that this was Denver's time to be bad, because I see what Kansas City's doing and I see how well they've played.
Yeah.
And I saw the Chargers were right on the cusp last year, and I see that Oakland is a complete dumpster fire as well. So these things happen, right? This is football, and time it's cyclical, and these things you have to go through these highs and lows, and it's unfortunate that it happened. But hopefully Mason Rudolph shows you guys why he's worth that first pick.
That's true. Isn't it crazy all the stuff that's happening? We're only 2 weeks into football.
Insane.
Quarterbacks dropping like
so
flies.
Many veterans that we would just rely on in all our fantasy leagues, like Drew Brees, and now he's out with the thumb. Aaron Donald for that. I hate him for that.
You did mention that
He ruined my fantasy season.
Oh.
A lot of injuries, a lot of people going down or getting benched.
Yeah.
So. But we got to hurry up and get out of here. Before we do, I would like everybody to say what we're watching this week.
All right. So I'll start because, especially After back-to-back weeks of, for the first time in team history, by the way, Buffalo won back-to-back road games to start their season. Team history. And
Nice.
that's a long franchise that had some success, but that's not what I'm actually watching. I'm going to actually be, of course I'm watching that, but the big one I'm actually looking for, and this is just so we can prove for the first time if Lamar Jackson's legit, Baltimore and Kansas City. I want to see if he can keep up with the Nintendo football game that is Patrick Mahomes. It's Tecmo Bowl. That's all he's
That's
doing
gonna
right
be
now.
a great game. What about you, Ray?
I want to see the Rams in Cleveland. I think this is a great opportunity for Cleveland to show that they're making strides in the right direction. But at the same time, I think the Rams are going to just pounce, honestly. I think that they would have liked to play better last week, and I think they're going to take advantage, and they're going to beat Cleveland on Sunday night.
And I guess, I mean, you guys chose the best games there, but I'm gonna pick your Bills, Jamie, because I actually took them in my Survivor League
Nice.
against Cincinnati, and obviously I want to see Cincinnati go down again. So that's the game I'm watching.
All right. So I'll say this: if the Bills are losing at halftime, I'm leaving the bar so you don't hit me.
But at least the Steelers play at 4:00 this week, so I have a little bit of breathing room
Okay.
to get ready for that against the 2-0 San Francisco 49ers. So we won't even talk about that.
Yeah.
So I survived.
Yeah,
You survived your first week. There you go.
Did it?
And the crowd goes wild.
Wasn't bad at all.
But lucky for us, Rich will be back next week, so I can take my place over on the other side with you guys. I feel much more comfortable over there. So
I feel much more comfortable with you over there because I have a lot of room.
thanks.
You know what I'm
See?
saying? Like-
So much more room for activities.
I thought I smelled good, and you can sit next to me.
Well, there's that too. It's a catch-22, you know.
All right. Well, I do have to thank Disruption Network, of course, for Todd Z and Chicken for allowing us to come in here. We appreciate it. And tune in next week. We'll be back Tuesday night at 7:00 right here. So we are out of here.
Later.
Later.